This past September, I took the opportunity to walk around downtown Vancouver, British Columbia to talk to people about their personal perspectives on gun control in Canada. In this next segment, I'm going to display some information throughout the conversation, and the only reason I'm going to do this is to make sure that we all have the true and accurate information as we go through this activity. In no way would I ever do this to diminish anyone or their beliefs or their opinions. The people who volunteer to talk to me deserve a tremendous amount of respect because they have no idea who I am, they've never met me before, and they're trusting me by going on camera. So by no means would I ever betray that trust. So having said that, let's get over to the Vancouver Library and have a chat about gun control. Concept,
yeah. No, it really is, because I understand where you're coming from. And frankly, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Have a gun.
At the end of the day,
as demonic that makes sense.
Societies where it's easier to obtain firearms and where you're allowed to carry them, there's just more gun violence. And there are more deaths from gunshots. Regardless of how many statistics you pull out, that's a fact. More people die from firearms in the United States, and it's very easy to obtain firearms in the United States. We're a society, much like the UK, where we have effectively disarmed our citizenry. Whereas the United States, they're not, and they also have an embedded constitutional right to carry a firearm. Whether that's been debated or not, the last Supreme Court case on it has effectively ended that debate to a certain extent in the United States forever. But we don't have that debate here, and we don't have nearly the gun violence per capita that the United States has. There are, rough estimates of 300 million firearms in the United States. And yes, a lot of the crimes that are perpetrated in the United States with guns are with guns that have been obtained illegally, but a lot of them are with guns that have been obtained legally. So in a society where, all of the citizenry can potentially carry firearms on the street, you will inevitably have more gun crimes, be it from accidents, be it from children who get a hold of something when they're not supposed to. And at the end of the day, even one more of those than what we have now is not worth the time. And I think that citizens carrying weapons on the street is not going to make anything safer. It's going to make the world more dangerous here. So, and there are statistics in other societies that prove that. So, at the end of the day, would I like to see a ban on all guns in this country? No, absolutely not. The reasons you can own a gun in this country for target shooting or for hunting are totally legitimate. And if I could afford a gun, I probably would have one for target shooting, and would go get my FAC or PAL, whatever it's called now. And it is fairly easy to get a gun at the end of the day.
In Canada?
Well, you have to pass all that stuff, but if you have a clear criminal, you have a clear record, you're probably going to get it.
By the way, there are societies with a lot more guns than the United States, and they have even lower gun crime, like Switzerland's an example.
They are, but that's okay, perfect. That's a great example. You're absolutely right.
It is,
but one of the differences with a country like Switzerland is it's an unbelievably more heavily regulated country in every aspect. It's a socialist country in many ways. Everything from healthcare to welfare, unemployment, stuff like that. It's a much more cohesive society in terms of collective rights and not individuals in the United States.
But so in our conversation, what I'm hearing is that there are other factors other than whether there's guns in a society that determine whether there's gun violence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like there's other factors.
Bit,
there's other factors. You just said that it's more of a
factors.
Socialist. They have safety net and they got all that stuff, right?
But at the end of the day, more guns with more people, whether they know how to use them or not, with massive gun ownership in any society, I think in some ways, especially, I agree. You make a good point, but at the end of the day, you are not allowed to carry an open firearm in Switzerland.
Well, the United States, I'm gonna let you guys go in a second. But in the United States, it's a very misunderstood situation. On average, they have around 14,000 firearm-related deaths per year. And what a lot of people don't know, and all these statistics, all these numbers are actually quite available, is that 80% of their firearm-related deaths are gang-related. They have an enormous gang problem there.
Very much
Not
so.
everybody's really aware of that. They have 1.4 million gang members operating in 33,000 known gangs. Can you imagine? They could take over our country with their gang members alone. But that's where, and if you take 80%, which are completely criminally related, gun deaths, their numbers are actually about where ours are per capita. So I think there's a lot of misconception, like there's a lot of, because they have concealed carry and then you see gun violence, people equate them to the same before really looking into the numbers. But anyway, I'm not trying to convince you, but I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So here we had a pretty lengthy conversation, but I think it was valuable in many ways. Some of the information wasn't accurate, but instead of turning this into some long-winded analysis of 20 different studies, I'll say this: data can be presented in different ways, and in some ways to support the conclusion you desire, and I think any researcher would tell you the same thing, especially when you present the data to imply that correlation equals causation. I'll provide a variety of different statistics and studies in the description box, and I encourage you to look through those yourself. Take a little bit of time, try to understand them. They're not really that complex, and draw your own conclusions, because I think that's important. And one of the reasons why it's important that you do that is if you want to engage in conversation or be viewed as an informed person or just be viewed as being right. That's, I think, what's required. So in closing, I couldn't have made this video without the people that took the time to talk to me about gun control. So a very respectful thank you to these people for being reasonable and having the courage to go on camera and talk about this still controversial subject. I truly appreciate it. I also appreciate Dustin for helping me film it, and I also appreciate all the subscribers to the Civil Advantage YouTube channel. I couldn't do it without you. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.